Okay, so we're going to start chapter 5 today. Okay, chapter 5, it's all about statistics, okay? Data analysis, all right? So, you've done this before. Now, like most units in this, in Foundations 20, it doesn't connect to anything else that you're going to learn this year. It's just, we need to teach you guys a little bit of statistical analysis stuff, so they decided to put it here. Like Foundations 20 is kind of a mishmash of a lot of different things. There's no kind of flow to everything. So
it sucks though, because then it's like you don't really know pretty different every
I know, it's too, like, I kind of like it when we build off stuff. But that's okay. Really, the math and statistics for what we're going to do is pretty straightforward. It's adding, dividing, square roots, and that's kind of it. Okay? So 5.1 was all about mean, median, mode, and like measuring data. Like we know the mean is the average. We take the class average to kind of see how everyone did as a collective. We're not going to get into a whole lot of doing the mean, median, mode today because I feel like it's been done. You guys should be okay with it. Mode, you just look and see which number shows up the most. And then the median, you have to line them up and see which one falls in the middle. There you go, 5.1. Done. 5.2 though is a little bit different. So with statistics, we're going to be collecting data and looking at it. Today what we're going to learn is histograms, and frequency, polygons, okay? So basically what we do is we're given bigger lists of data, and we're just organizing the data and seeing how much of it we have. Okay? It allows us to kind of comprehend how often things happen. We're just counting data points and graphing them. Okay? A histogram is just a graph. It's a fancy name for a bar graph, pretty much. Okay? So if you guys open the textbooks, once you guys get this down, and go to page 213. So if you look at page 213, it's a bunch of information and numbers there, okay? Now I'm not going to write it all out because there's like 40 years of data there, okay? So what this shows is it shows the amount of flooding or water flow of the Red River. It's a river that's primarily in Manitoba, and it floods quite often. It's prone to a lot of flooding. So what they do is they record the water flow every year. So you can see on those tables, there's the year on the left, and then there's the amount of water or flow beside it, okay? So what they've done is they've calculated the years of flooding versus non-flooding, okay? So what they did is you flip forward to page 214 now, is they've counted everything. And if you look at the bottom left corner there's that table. They counted the amount of times that it was between 0 and 500, 500 to 1,000, 1,000 to 1,500, all the way to 45 to 5,000. Does that make sense? Do you guys kind of see what they did there? Okay, so they counted the flow rates. like this, right? Flow rates 0 to 500, 500 to 1,000, 1,000 to 5, or 1,500. All the way to what? 40. 45. Okay. And the total is the amount of times that this occurred. To 1. Okay. So this is all my data points. And this total here, we call this our frequency. Oh, gotta make sure I spell it right. So frequency is the amount of times that the data occurred, okay? And now these flow rates, these guys are known as my intervals. Okay? Intervals and frequency. Am I going to, do you guys need a minute to write this down? Lots of good energy. Stay awake, Furby. This is one of the most important things, and this is where people make a lot of their mistakes generally only here with histograms. If I'm counting flow rates, if I had a flow rate, let's say, if I had a flow rate of exactly 500 meters per second, or whatever they're counting, whatever it's in, meters cubed per second, do I count that in the 0 to 500 range, or the 500 to 1,000? Well, that's 1,000.
500 to 1,000.
You say 500 to 1,000? Okay. Generally, what we do is we go up to the number here. So it should go in this guy. So when I say it starts from 500 to 1,000, that's actually at 500.01. Okay? So you just have to be careful of that. What a lot of people end up doing is they count 500 twice. Well, 0 to 500, 500 goes in here. 500 to 1,000, 500 goes in here as well. And that skews your data. So you have to make sure you're counting it once and being consistent. And the general rule of thumb is, and what this textbook does, is you go up to the last number here, that's your cutoff point. So 500 here is my cutoff. Anything bigger than 500 starts here. Okay, so you just have to be careful of that. Okay? So if I had a number of 2,000, it would be counted between the 1,500 to 2,000 range, not the 2,000 to 2,500 range. Is everyone clear on that part? Good, because that seems to be always where most people get tripped up when doing histograms. Right, girls? Yeah, right? Remember?
Yes.
Where does the number go? Which side?
I actually don't.
Okay. It was so traumatic they blocked it out.
Yeah. Really upsetting.
Cole, are you okay with that too? You guys over there?
Yeah.
If a number's right on the divide, it goes right. Okay.
Yes,
I was confused when you said that.
Okay, good, excellent. Brendan didn't, but that's all right. He's playing games. Don't help him. Okay, now, what a histogram does is what we're going to do here. All right, so a histogram. Okay, so this is what we're going to make now. A histogram.
Sorry, what? 6, 2, 4. Oh, not right.
Is a graph Go ahead. Yeah. All right, so we're going to show the frequency of the data points here. By the intervals. Can you guys read that better now? Okay, so we count the we space out our intervals. The spacing on the intervals generally is up to you guys. Like you can determine what you want these numbers to go up by. Okay? And then we're going to graph intervals, frequency. Okay? See, we're doing 5.2. All right, so basically all we're going to do now is we're making a bar graph. So it's really, these aren't that bad to do. You just take your intervals. This is your x-axis. Frequencies is always your y-axis. Okay? I'll show you guys, I'll draw one out, and then I'll lay out like rules and expectations for a histogram. All right, so your y-axis is always your frequency, guys. Okay, so you just put frequency. There's no units for it.
Those tables are so much easier than the other ones.
The frequency polygons. They're just they're just the lines, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, you just.
We're going back to 5.
Yeah, 5.2.
You look at the chart and draw it.
Typically, these are less time consuming. I typically don't do a lot of frequency polygon stuff on assessments. So now you have to pick the units you want to go up by. My data range is anywhere from 0 to 14. So I'm going to go up by, I'll go by 2.
Same graph.
Now my intervals that I calculated my data on, I went up by 500s, right? 0 to 5, 5 to 1,000.
Yeah.
So to make this easier, all I do is I just check them off one at a time. So this is always 0, 500, 1,000, 1,500, 2,000.
Wait, we're going up by 500.
This is my last one, 45. Oh no. Be tight. 5,000. Now you have to label your axes. So I'd say that this is river flow, and it's meters cubed per second. The units will always be given to you on this stuff, so you don't have to like really freak out about, oh, what are my units? You just put that down, okay? And then you should have a title up here. This is all just Red River. You could call it anything like Red River flooding. I'm really not looking for anything fancy with titles or anything like that. Sure. You could even have put like river flooding. Is that okay? Or no? Okay. If you put frequency, river flow with the units, and a quick title, that's a mark and a half right there. Okay? So now we do the easy part. Once you've counted everything, you just draw it out. And you make bar graphs here, okay? The rules with histograms are you draw bars, and the bars have to touch. It's like, like they almost look like a bar graph. So my first data point, between 0 and 500, what was my frequency? 6, right? Here's 6. So between 0 and 500. All right, there's the first one. What's that? It depends on the data. Right? We're looking at page 214. Then for the next one, between 500 and 1,000, my frequency was 11. So about here. Like so. Is that okay if I just scroll up like this and just work on the graph part? My next one, between 1,000 and 15 was at 9. Like that. Okay, notice how my lines are always touching, okay? That's fine. With a regular bar graph, you're supposed to give a little bit of space, I believe. But for histograms, you want them to be touching, as long as the data works out. Then between 1,500 and 2,000, it's 14. Is this making sense? Oh, yeah. Close enough. Is this making sense? Can I just draw the rest of them out? Okay, the next one was at 5. And then 1. And then 3. Now my next 2 were at 0. So you don't have to put anything for those guys. You can leave them blank. All right, then there's a gap. If your data points are actually nothing, then don't put anything in there. And then leave them blank. So there's nothing here, nothing there. And then between 4,500 and 5,000, it was 1 again. Okay, and that's a histogram.
Why is there a space?
Because if you look at the data on page 214, between 3,500 and 4,000, was there anything or is it just 0? So if it's 0, don't put anything. Some people say put a line like this. but I don't worry about that, okay? I just leave it like that. Is there any questions about this? Honestly, the hardest part for people is counting the data and knowing where like one interval ends. Remember, so this is 0 to 500. This is 500.01 to 1,000. Okay, that's the tricky part. And usually there are going to be spots that are like right in between one or the other, and you have to remember which way it goes. Okay, because that's as tricky as I can make it. Okay, any questions about this? Okay. And then I'm going to quickly show you guys frequency polygons. I don't like them as much as histograms, so I don't really ask a lot about them, but I'm still required to show you guys it by law. All right? So a frequency polygon what it does is it's a line graph. So when I say line graph, you guys know what I mean, right? Something like that. That's like a line graph.
Does the line graph always have to come from the intersection?
Like from here? No, not necessarily. It all depends on where your first data point is. And all you do is you plot the midpoint of your interval compared to the frequency. Okay, so you're still counting frequencies just like you did before, so that part doesn't change. But instead of having your intervals between like 0 and 500, is you take the point right in the middle of that. So if you guys go back to this table up here, like the midpoints for these guys. So what's halfway? Oh, sorry. Brooke, say something. Okay, let's go back here now. Good? Okay. So what you need to do is this part of your graph here, your frequency part stays the same. You still put the points along the y-axis. These guys here, though, change. You take the midpoint. Okay? The midpoints are really easy to find. Okay. What was it? Oh, I thought you said the answer. Did you? What did you say it was? Close. For the midpoint between 0 and 500, 250.
Oh, it's like each one.
Yeah. And then halfway between 500 and 1,000, 750. So basically, you find the first midpoint, and then you just add it to the bottom number, the first number in your interval. So then 1,000 plus 250 would be 1,250, 1,750. And you work your way down. 4,750. Does that make sense, guys? Yeah? Kaylin, this is what you guys did for interval polygons? Okay. And then you just, I'm going to draw this one really quick, okay? frequencies on this side. And then you just plot your midpoints. So first one was 250, 750. No, 12. You should be able to start to see a pattern here too. If you've done your intervals right, the midpoint will always kind of like 250, 750, 1 250, 1 750, 2 250, 2 70. This one would be 3 250. Good for you guys. Okay, so there's the frequency polygon, and there's the question.